Some of you may already know why Joe's wedding day is missing his most important asset, his best man. Well, Joe, rest assured, I'm still here by your side, just not physically. Back in January of this year, I was involved in a pretty serious skiing accident that nearly took my life. Despite all the bad news I received after waking up from about a month of a medical coma and a serious surgery, I was presented with some very awesome news. Joe had met the companion he's always dreamed about and accepted a marriage proposal. He stood by my side and immediately asked I be his best man, which of course I accepted. The bad news is that my doctors still won't let me travel in the air at high altitude due to my injuries. So driving or flying there was impossible. I nearly had to decline the position. But after thinking about it, one idea came to mind. Max headroom. That's right, I can still be here, just as a TV personality. Luckily, for us Americans, staring at a TV for hours each day is pretty much normal behavior. So, despite my lack of physical appearance, I can still be a part of Joe's very special day. I was excited to be best man, but honestly, coming up with an appropriate speech has been somewhat challenging. See, for the last 15 years, I barely know anything about Joe's life. We are geographically separated, and you can only gain so much knowledge of a person trolling their Facebook page. Granted, Facebook has been a huge help in this area, but our history together really dates back to our childhood. Both of us were uprooted from our pleasant Northern California childhood when our parents divorced, and my mother remarried another service member, Don. We packed what we had and moved to England for about 6 years. There are a few stories I'd like to share here. Anthony, if Joe still has a horseshoe-shaped tattoo on his butt, sorry to disappoint you, bro. That's not a cool-looking symbolic tattoo. Joe got his butt kicked by a horse near our house. He decided to pet the other side of its head. Apparently, I was taking up too much space. Nobody ever told us how to walk around a horse safely. So, Joe, walking around its rear legs, bam! Tattoo time! I got severely reprimanded by my parents for that one. On the lighter side, we did a whole lot of sightseeing and castle roaming. So Joe's fascination with Dungeons and Dragons when we got back to the States probably had its roots in our England adventures. And my memory these days is not so good. But I think I tried a Dungeons and Dragons adventure game with them once. It sure felt like nobody even knew how to play. Or maybe my attention span just wasn't very good. Joe sure did play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games with his buddies while in high school. Well, he never told any of us siblings he was a gay man. So part of me now is wondering if there was more hide the dragon going on rather than Dungeons and Dragons. So, now that I've possibly drowned some appetites with that last observation, let's talk about food. Unfortunately, I am not there to enjoy the food. But hopefully, there are no tuna sandwiches and sweet potatoes with a delicious banana-flavored dessert being served. These are just some of the foods that just downright didn't taste well for any of us siblings. For me, it was just about everything my mother made us eat. For Joe, it was tuna sandwiches and bananas. We secretly developed ways to rid our diets of these foods without our parents knowing about it. Well, most of the time, that is. We once try to dispose of tuna sandwiches out the upstairs bathroom windows. But our childhood lack of knowledge of flat rooftops and gravity certainly didn't stop the local birds from attacking each other for the leftovers. My mother stuck her head out the window to see what they were fighting about, and, well, that disposal attempt granted our butts a big spanking. The bananas were the bane of our existence. Most of us have no problem eating a healthy-looking yellow fruit. It wasn't so much the idea of my mother. Most of our treats were at the brown and sticky stage. School lunchboxes smelled foul. And if we ever wanted to have friends, Mom's lunchboxes had to go. Listen, folks, I'm not up here to embarrass my brothers, but if you happen to see a lot of birds fighting each other outside over a wrapped-up paper towel, or my brother, Chris, discreetly limping away from the table with one foot halfway hanging out of his shoe, just gently remind yourself they are just being polite to the cooks by not leaving any delicious and nutritious items on their plate uneaten. See, most of you by now have been staring at my face long enough to ask if beards are a Lamothe boy tradition. Yes, I have an epic beard right now. And no, this look is not a tradition. It sure does look good, right? See, fellow guests, even though I'm not physically there, you can still imagine a room full of heavily bearded and incredibly proud individuals. I know I'm not the only fellow there sporting a fantastic beard. For me, this accomplishment, yes, I said accomplishment, was incredibly challenging. And to be completely honest, a bit disappointing as well. We'll get to that second part in a minute. You see, back in March, my proud brother told me about Anthony and their marriage plans. And now that Anthony is officially a part of our family, I wanted to do something meaningful and personally special for them. Both. Well, after much deliberation about gifts, I decided on this, a personal statement of support for my brother and Anthony. Grow a beard in their honor. Now, most of you fellow beard growers, this is no big deal. But for me and my 5 o'clock shadow look I've been wearing for years, I never thought a beard would be accepted by my peers or coworkers and wife. Well, the first couple of groups were accepting, and even in a bit of admiration. My beautiful wife, not so much. Every other day I get a, "When are you going to trim that beard?" My strong stance about doing this for my brother stood tall in the beginning, but slowly became an annoying excuse for my appearance as it grew longer and started to poke into places of my head that just shouldn't have hair. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I like the way I look. But here comes that disappointing aspect I was talking about earlier. I have a lot of gray hairs here. Short beards don't show this, but long beards, be prepared to look at least 10 years older or 20 years smarter. And the curls, the longer it grows out, the more and more my face is starting to look like 80s porn star junk. Don't ask me how I'm familiar with this look. And no, that is not a pubic, public opinion. It's just how my wife and I see me in the mornings before I get a comb and some hairspray out. Beards! Manly beards! So now that my brothers, Anthony and Joe, are officially one, I feel that my dedication is coming to an end. But their dedication to each other has just begun. So everyone, raise your beverage and repeat after me. Here's to the beards! my brothers, who are both very eager to move forward and start writing their next chapters together. Hear, hear, Joe, Anthony, we love you.